Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1.
The thinking atheist. It's not a person. It's a symbol. An idea.
The population of atheists in this country is going through the roof.
Rejecting faith. Pursuing knowledge. Challenging the sacred.
If I tell the truth, it's because I tell the truth. Not because I put my hand on a book and made a wish.
And working together for a more rational world.
Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way.
Assume nothing. Question everything. And start thinking. This is the Thinking Atheist Podcast. Hosted by Seth Andrews.
This show, not on the schedule originally. I just had some time, did a live stream on YouTube. And so there's a YouTube link in the description box you can watch if you would rather. But this is pretty much the audio from that broadcast. Just a kind of stream of consciousness kind of show, which many of our listeners really enjoy. And plenty of calls from our listeners. Just a funny anecdote. I had this on my mind. I thought I'd share it with you. I'm a movie guy. I enjoy going to the movies. I'm not well versed in film. I'm just one of those people who loves to go. And so we went to go to the movies the other night. Went to go see 1917, the new Sam Mendes film, which is really, really good. And it's different from any other war film I've ever seen. It sets itself off in terms of style. It simulates the one shot. It is really unique and masterfully done. But I have this problem with people who won't shut off their fucking cell phone during the movie. How many announcements need to be made during the film? Please be kind and courteous to others and silence your cell phones now. And they have other ones where like the M&Ms come up on screen and they say something about how don't be a distraction. It's rude. No talking during the movie. No texting during the movie. Please turn off your cell phone. So I am that guy who, when somebody lights up a cell phone in the middle of the theater and it takes me out of the moment, I will get up. And I will walk over to that person and I will say, excuse me, just shut off your phone. Now, I'm not a jerk about it, but I am direct. Please shut off your phone. It's all I can see when you turn that thing on. I remember, and I think one of the reasons is that the movie theater is my temple. Okay? It's my temple. It's my sacred place. You are not that important if you have to take the call, if you have to browse Facebook or whatever it is you think you must do, or if you're waiting on an important text. A movie theater is not the place you need to be, or just sort of excuse yourself. We've all been to a point when someone needs to urgently get a hold of us, and we sort of get that, and we right out the door because we are thinking beyond ourselves, right? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. I don't know how many times since Natalie and I have been together, and it took her a while to get used to it. We would be at a theater, somebody would fire up their cell phone. And after the second or third time, I get out of my chair because I can feel the blood. I can feel the vein popping out of my forehead. I can feel myself getting irritated. I drop, what's a movie ticket run at night? Like $15 a pop. There's a great theater with a balcony that we love. That's $20 a pop. For a movie. All right, so 40 a couple. $40 we paid. I didn't drop $40 to look at you in your phone. So we're at 1917, sitting in the balcony at the Warren. Dude in front of us, all during the previews, he's on his phone, and he's scrolling Facebook, scrolling Facebook, scrolling Facebook. And I feel that little twinge that, well, it's the previews, although the previews are sacred. Previews are sacred. But yeah, it's all right. I'm not an animal. All right. I'll let that go. movie starts and he puts his phone away and I get into the film. And it doesn't take long. I'm immersed. I am now in another world, which is what movies are supposed to do for us. Take us on a journey. All of a sudden, he pulls out his cell phone and he's just scrolling. You can tell it's social media. He's just scrolling. Scrolling at Facebook in the theater. Natalie couldn't see it from her chair. Otherwise, she would have been doing that thing where like if you're with your partner and they pat you on the knee, like, whoa, hey, chill. Because she would have known that I was off and on. And for the entire film, I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. So the end credits roll. The film is over, directed by Sam Mendes. And I get up and I lean over the chair in front of me. And I said, "Excuse me. Do you know that announcement they make at the beginning of the film that says that your cell phone is a distraction?" The guy said, "Yeah." I said, "Your cell phone is a distraction." He said, oh, thanks for letting me know. Right. Obviously, I had taken him off guard. I stood up and walked out to the lobby. Natalie had to hit the restroom, so I'm waiting. This gives this person plenty of time to come out and see me in the lobby. And he does. I'm out there. It was a double date. We had a couple of friends of ours with us. Guy walks out. He's big. He is, he obviously works out. Like, leave it to me to pick on the gym rat, right? His neck is bigger than my waist. All right. So he comes out and he looks at me and he's obviously pissed. He's had a second to think about it. He's like, and they give mints. They have this basket of mints that you get. You can take a mint after the movie. All right. So he walks by and he grabs a handful of mints. He walks down and he starts to walk down the stairwell and he turns around and he goes, "I was talking to my wife, by the way." Came off just like that. It was very kind of an alpha male thing, the chest pumping out, kind of a rooster, "I was talking to my wife." Bullshit. He was scrolling his phone, Facebook or whatever. I said, "The whole movie?" "Yeah, you know what?" And then he just went crazy. He was cussing me up and down, and he walks back up the stairs, and he's throwing his chest out, and then he's like the Tasmanian devil, and he walks all the way down the stairs and out the front door. My friends were standing next to me as this happened. Natalie comes out of the restroom, and I looked up and I said, that guy could have kicked my ass. He could have handed my jaw to me. Natalie's like, what's wrong with you? One of these days, you're going to run in, you're going to do this, you're going to say something to somebody about their cell phone, and it's going to be a crazy person. And they are going to kick your ass. And she's not wrong. At some point, the law of averages says, I'm going to run into somebody who has no filter, who has no screen, who will just go spider monkey on me wherever we are. What happens? This is Oklahoma. Could be packing a weapon for all I know. Why am I so compelled to shut that down? I think it's because this is such an easy one. It's not just the money. It's the fact that you are being, what's the word I'm looking for? You are encountering a barrage of instructions that say one thing: shut off your phone. Right? Don't be rude. Think of other people around you who might be out. Maybe it's their one night out for the week, for the month. Right? This is basic. This basic human behavior. And the theater is my temple. I can't stand it. If it happens tomorrow, I'm going to go down and I'm going to say, excuse me. but please shut off your freaking phone. Shut off your cell phone. Natalie's like, she says I'm the phone police. She's going to get me a T-shirt. Maybe he'll have a moment of pause next time. Maybe now that he's when he walks away and has a chance to cool off and the alpha male thing is no longer going, maybe he'll reconsider and think about the fact that he's not the only person who dropped $20 to sit in a chair in the movie theater, and somebody else might be there to have a good time. So that happened. Anybody else have something like that it causes a primal response in you? It's a total first world problem. It's a first world problem. Natalie, who is so sweet and so forgiving, says, you know what? You should just watch movies at home then. You should just watch movies at your own home. Other people don't have to abide by your rules. And I'm stopping her. I'm yelling. I'm like, no. These are not my rules. When you go to a movie, when you go out to an event like this, you are signing a social contract. You've signed a social contract. And breach of that contract brings penalties. Somebody's got to say something. Somebody has to go down there and bring law and order. To right the wrong, to create justice out of injustice. Someone has to do it. Desecrate the temple like that. Anyway, speaking of Natalie. Actually, let me step back. I've been rekindling a relationship with my mother and father, my religious parents. We're trying, right? I'm that guy. I'm the disappointment. I'm the black sheep, the flying in the ointment, the pain in the ass. I'm the broken branch from the family tree. I'm the one. I'm like those in the movie The Village, those we don't speak of. I'm that, right? And so we've gone through, 10 years of that, and you're familiar with that story. And we haven't spoken. We went through a period where we didn't really connect. But Dad's 85, Mom's 82. We started to try again, right? And I'm being the optimist. I'm thinking, okay, I'll try again. So it was around the holidays and everybody saw everybody and it was good. Thanksgiving and Christmas. Everything went off without a hitch. There was no weirdness. Everything was good. So anyway, I get a call from Mom and she says, I didn't get a chance to give you your Christmas present. I want to drop it by. Ding, 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 ding. All right, the alarms are starting to go off in my head. She wants to come by. This is an intervention. I'm going to walk in. There's going to be a shit ton of people all lined up on the couch, and they're going to say, please have a seat. We want to read letters to you. Oh, no. No. Don't be that cynical. Don't be that cynical. This may be an olive branch. Okay, great. So I'll be home on this night, and, you're welcome to come. Well, your father and I are going to come by, and we'll call. All right. We'll text you when we're on the way. I said, great. And I made sure Natalie was home for backup because she's got my back. And they came over and I guess they were there for about an hour and a half. They were at my house in my roof. This is a big deal because from my mother's perspective, the mortgage is being paid by Satan, right? I do the devil's work. I make my living as an atheist activist. So I guess when you walk in, it's like inviting a vampire in or something. I've invited the devil in by doing his work, or the devil's paying my house payments. So for a while, she wouldn't even come over. They came over. We hung out. We made cookies. It was great. We sat on the couch and just swapped stories, and we talked about the dog and where they're going to move and blah, blah, blah. And it's all good. And when they left, everybody hugged everybody. It was good. It was good. It was really good. I looked at Natalie and I was like, wow. And she looked at me and she was like, see, hey, everybody did well. Everybody was on their best behavior. Next day, Natalie gets a text. Not me. Natalie gets a text. Would love to have you join us for church. Now, what do you think that's about? Is it just the way they build bridges, or is it a maneuver to try to get my wife in church because they can't get me in church? I tend to lean toward the second. Maybe Seth could meet us after for lunch. What does that feel like to you? I don't think it's just because I'm cynical. I think it's because we have a long history of religious guilt and shame and hell threats and you're embarrassing the family and all this other stuff. But And since I'm not responding to all that stuff, all the books they've given me and all the texts and the sermons and the emails and the phone calls, is this just a maneuver? Now, Natalie is not an atheist. She's really more of a deist, you know. There's something out there, right? For all practical purposes, she lives a secular life. She's not a fundamentalist by any stretch of the imagination. She's a Christian in name only, perhaps. She's a cultural Christian. It's what she came from, but, you know, she doesn't pray before meals. She doesn't go to church. She was involved in the church like decades ago. All right. That's where her quote unquote faith is at. And so we're kind of an odd couple to some people in that way. The fact that an atheist activist is married to someone who is, to a degree, a God believer. Maybe they just assumed because she was not an atheist that church might be some common ground. Maybe I'm being too cynical about it and they were genuinely extending an olive branch in the way that they know how. Maybe I need to soften up, but I'll tell you, it's hard for me to go there. It's hard for me to buy it. How would you respond? Would you feel like they were sort of trying to sneak over the threshold of your house and co-opt half of your relationship? I don't know. I don't have a point to that story. It's just what happened. Just a snapshot of my week. How's 2020 been for you so far? Because, you know, I have to say, so far it's been kind of shitty. You know, we've got all the tensions around Soleimani and Iran, and the tensions there are heightened. Did you see that Neil Peart of Rush died just a few days ago? Arguably the greatest drummer who ever lived. I mean, possible. A rock god, certainly. If there is a god, it may have been Neil Peart. Brain cancer. He retired from Rush years ago. He just passed away. I pulled up the classic 8-minute drum solo from the Rush concert at Frankfurt. I think it was was it 2011 when that show happened? You can see, I actually pulled it up and thought I'd play it for you here, but I'm reconsidering. You know what? I'm going to play a couple minutes of Neil Peart. Let's honor the one guy. We can prove Neil Peart existed. We have tangible evidence for Neil Peart. Yeah, I think he's worth a few minutes. Let's do it. another. There will be some greats, but there will never be another. Anyway, you should check it out. It's Rush live in Frankfurt. Neil Peart drum solo. You can find it on YouTube. It's 8 minutes long. Anyway, that's how our year has started. I mean, we lost a legend, and the world's on fire. How are you? But I do have some optimism about what's coming in 2020. I really think that I'm going to try to not just if it bleeds, it leads, right? If it's bad news, it will always be front and center. But I really do hold that most people are good, and there is much good in the world, and we're going to continue to seek that out and to highlight it wherever we can. Well, I don't know, what's on your mind these days? I'm going to take a real quick break. When I come back, it's our listeners, their questions and comments on the other side of this. This is kind of a bonus show. Wasn't originally on the schedule, but I had the time. You had the time. Let's spend the time. We go to the switchboard now and just sort of take a potpourri of calls and comments and questions from our listeners. And let's start with area code 404. Hi, you're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Hey, this is Joseph.
Joseph, thanks for calling, my friend. This is kind of a whatever broadcast. What's on your mind?
I want to go ahead and make a quick comment about the family situation. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, that was a maneuver.
So I'm not crazy.
Tried that.
I'm not crazy. You
no,
think
you're not crazy. No.
They're playing some chess, you think?
Yeah, that was a move. Like, honestly, I have family members that are legitimate narcissists, so I know this when I see it. So
I get a lot of the. If piety was an Olympic sport, they would be medalists. I'll give you that.
Right.
They have that sort of, we are the elders looking down from the mountain, giving you our wisdom, that kind of thing. So,
right.
I may not be crazy in that. What else is on your mind, my friend?
Well, another thing I wanted to talk about is basically reaching out to people about actually thinking or rethinking about the position in Christianity. Technically, I'm still a new atheist because I disbelieve, like, somewhere in, like, I want to say February 2019, I threw it all away. And the way that I came about this is somewhere back in July of 2018, like when I actually was a Christian. I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna get real serious. I want to develop myself in my faith and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, so my only way to really do this is to, first of all, read the entire Bible from start to finish, because I never did that before. And so when I actually did do that, I was like, wait a fucking minute, what is this shit? Like, what is this thing about forcing a woman to drink bitter water that brings a curse or some shit? And, like, why is God telling me that in some translation he creates peace and evil? Like, what kind of a deity are we looking at here? Because, when you're brought up in church, everyone's saying that God's all divine and pure. He cannot look upon evil, whatever. But when you start thinking about it, it's like, wait a minute, if that's the case, then how was he able to create something that turned evil if that's not within his, like, boundaries? I'm not getting that logic.
I like you already.
Adam and Eve.
You're my kind of thinker, right? I mean, some of this came to that late, but you're asking the right questions. Yeah, really good stuff.
Right. And looking back, there were certain questions that I still, like, they came to me as a child, and I couldn't, like, find an answer for it. And one of the things that really stuck with me growing up is, like, how come all religions seem to put women on the back burner? You ever notice that?
I do. I've noticed that, yeah. Well, I'd say not all.
Yeah.
But, yeah, most. Certainly the Abrahamic religions, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when I talked to family members about this, because they kind of took it the wrong way when I said I'm atheist. I don't believe this is all really garbage if you stop and think about it. So one of the first things I did was, like, show them, first of all, your position on abortion. If you actually go and, like, read the Old Testament, when you look at Numbers 5:11 through 31, God out of his own mouth is actually saying, you could do this, and if she were to do it while pregnant, it would cause her to miscarry. And I've had people tell me I'm taking that out of context, and I'm like, how is that possible if I just read the entire chapter? Like, what am I taking out of context here?
You remind me a lot of me when I first came out of the faith. The reason is because I had this naive belief that other people in Christianity would be interested to know that they were being deceived. I came out of the faith with this weird thing thinking, oh, I've got to ring the alarm because other people need to know. And as soon as they see what I've seen, they're going to follow me out the exit door, and they're going to discover a much greater world. And I got to go talk to these people and show them what's up. And I was astounded by the level of disinterest and condescension, and I didn't get any traction.
Yeah.
You're not getting any traction, right?
Right. And what's really bugging me, and like I've been watching Aaron Rock for a while. Like I like how he applies logic. It tickles me. But like I'll watch some of his shows on YouTube, and like whenever I find myself in these disagreements, like I'm dealing with that same crap. I'm like, wait, why are you justifying this particular aspect? Like, I've had a disagreement with my sister, and I was telling her, look, in regards to the whole thou shalt not kill thing, like, don't you think it's a little bit odd that the person that has a history of doing this to his subject wants to turn around and say, oh, well, you can't do this anymore? And on the same note, like, I've noticed that certain people that he's, like, appointed to be leaders, they've all have a history of killing people or killing something. Like, you have the Apostle Paul that was known for killing the Christians at the time. I didn't know that Moses had killed an Egyptian slave master and hid the body. And then the Bible just brushes over it like it didn't even have that in there. And then you have that one character, I think his name was Elijah, the one that summoned the 2 she-bears to eat the children. Mm-hmm. You know, looking back on some of this, it's just like, why didn't we say anything about this before? Like, you know, the Bible wants to talk about like witchcraft and like stuff like that being evil. It's like, okay, well, you have a prophet that had animals kill children because they were being immature children and making fun, which is what children do.
Well, you know, I can see the audience probably. I'm sort of half scanning the chat. I want to make sure I'm listening to you, you know, giving you my full attention as well. But you and I are among many who feel like, hey, we're seeing this with fresh eyes and wondering why people aren't sounding the alarm or how they're rationalizing the irrational or why there have to be these weird apologetics acrobatics to excuse the inexcusable. And your frustrations are understandable, man. You're feeling the effects of trying to reason with an unreasonable faith. But I will say this. I don't want to say I ever give up on anybody, because I really don't. I think it's healthy for these religious claims to be contradicted. They need to know they're not the only position at the table and that they're going to have to put up or shut up. To a degree, that is very true. But I would not make it a crusade to try to convince the true believers in your circle, because until they come to a point when they are open enough to receive new information, when they are genuinely curious, when they care enough to vet their own claim, they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to dig in their heels and double down, and you are going to lose your mind. Okay, so I think if you want to have those conversations in a cursory way, if you want to refute them or say, I disagree and here's why, I think that's totally fair. But I wouldn't dedicate a lot of yourself to trying to get them to be rational, because you can't. Right. All you can do is provide some information and hope they get to a point when they see your life and they see a lot of good stuff that exists outside their little bubble, and they maybe start to, fertilize some of the doubts in their own mind and heart. Everybody's had them, and maybe they'll have the courage to come and start a conversation with you. I certainly hope that happens. In the meantime, I'm glad you found your way out. That's huge. And that is one more freed mind that we should celebrate. So kudos to you for making it out, my friend.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Now, I want to.
Oh, okay. Go ahead quickly.
Too. Oh, I was going to say, well, no, it's not going to take too long, but like, thanks for having me on, though. Thank you.
I mean, I want to cut you off, but I've got a full switchboard and a limited amount of time. So just know that you're appreciated.
It's fine.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Joseph. See you later. I mean, how do I get someone to understand? This is the question. How do I get them to realize how nonsensical the idea of Noah's Ark is? Camels and penguins on a stadium-sized boat built by a 500-year-old guy using only trees and tar? How does this work? Penguins in the desert. How did that work? You just see them. They just... Well, you're taking it out of context. You are trying to mock the sacred word of Jesus. I rebuke you. I rebuke you in the name of my Lord. See, they doubled down. Many of them have made an emotional connection or emotional, they have an emotional relationship with their religion, which is why a great many atheists know the Bible better than the people who actually say they believe it. How many people say, I know the Bible is absolutely true, the perfect, divinely inspired word of God? What's in it? Fuck if I know. That's what most of cultural Christianity is like. Like that story about the bitter water, right? Find out if she has been unfaithful. Bring her before the council of men. Have her drink the bitter poisoned water. And if she miscarries, you know she's a whore. You bring that story to the believers and you say, this shit is in the Bible. This is a human rights nightmare. And they just look at you and they say, well, that's not in there. And so you go, no, hang on. And let me show you. You may have a Bible on hand and you start to turn the pages and you see them. They physically move away from the Bible that you are opening because they don't want to see it. No, you know what? It doesn't make any difference to me. You'll never tell me that my Jesus would never do that to a woman. My Jesus loves people. My God is love. Amen. I'll pray for you. They're walking out the room at this moment. They're actually, you see their back as they leave. I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. Going straight to hell on a greasy pole. It's do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You are going to hell. That is what it's like dealing with cultural Christians. And fuck if I know is how they approach the book they are positing as true. Makes me crazy. Makes me crazy. 256. Hi, you're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Hi, my name's Jason, calling from Ardmore, Alabama.
Ardmore, Alabama. Jason, talk to me. What's on your mind?
Sir. Oh, nothing, man. I just saw you live, and I was thinking, I wonder if I will finally be able to talk to this guy, because you have really changed my life, man.
Oh, in what way?
I tell you what. Well, kind of like, it took me, it was a 5-year conversion. About 5 years ago, I was messing around on YouTube and ran across a video that changed me because I'd never seen or heard anything like what I saw. And, I was a true believer, and I ain't got to tell you, believed in all of it. Donkeys talking and all of it. So, and the fish and the guy living in them for 3 days, believed all that crap.
Yeah.
And I ran across the video, and when I seen it, I felt the weight lift off of me. I just literally felt this weight, this haunting feeling, because I kind of had like the same kind of bring-uppings that you did. I was exposed to that same film, Thief in the Night, when I was like 8 years old in a Christian, speaking in tongues, laying of hands kind of, religion that I was brought up in. And
8 years old, that's some heavy medicine for anybody.
Seth, I'm telling you, man, I remember I walked out on I remember walking outside on the front steps. It was at night. It was on Wednesday night. And there was a guy standing out there smoking a cigarette. And I guess he could tell something was wrong. He said, "You okay, little man?" I asked him, I said, "When is all that supposed to happen?" He said, I said, "When did all that happen?" And he said, that's what's coming if you're not right with Jesus. Are you saved? And so I'm 48 years old, and until I was 43 years old, I think it was 43. I think is when I saw a video that changed me, and I have lived with this fear. Not anymore, okay, not anymore. But I lived with this fear, and it was never a fear of hell. It was a fear of just eternity. Period. I would get to where I would have to stand up and start going no, and try to get it off my mind and run. I got to get this off my mind. And none of that is with me anymore. I'm completely a non-believer, and I didn't go through a stage of anger, and then I didn't go through a stage of fear. I went straight into, what the fuck? How in the hell? How in the hell did my mama know that one day you would lay down with lions and you could close your eyes and be anywhere in the universe that you wanted to be, and there's a 9.5, 10-foot tall angel with me all the time watching me jerk off? I mean, my mom passed away in 2006, but I kind of want to go, how would you know that? I mean, come on.
I'm glad you shook it off. I'm glad you're free, and I appreciate the kind words.
I'm gonna tell you what, man.
In Alabama,
You're
of
welcome.
all places, Alabama,
Yeah. Hey, look,
USA.
Oh man, are you kidding me? I've been here my whole life, and I've never been so. I'm not really ashamed, because I know Australia's laughing at us. I mean, Kay Ivey, come on, are you kidding me? This abortion thing's made us just look like we went back in the dark ages. This is ridiculous.
Now you're talking here for those who haven't followed it. It's the comprehensive abortion ban, which is essentially spearheaded by theocrats who believe that their God mandates this, and so they're pushing their religion on everybody else in the state of Alabama.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and if a doctor gets caught performing that, they'll spend life in prison.
Yeah.
Their whole life will be stripped away from them because I don't know.
Look, you give yourself some credit.
People, so.
Yeah, being
I do.
A free mind in the deep South that's huge, and I think there are more of you. There are more of you every day.
I tried to slap my uncle, and he hung up on me after about the fourth thing I had to come out of my mouth. For the first time in 48 years, I called my grandmother's house and nobody answered the phone. And then he blocked me and deleted my wife from Facebook. He ran, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I just love it. I love it when hitch slap is used as a verb. It just makes me happy. All right, my friend.
I love that guy. It's nice talking to you.
I appreciate you, and thanks for being on the show, and you're awesome. The chat room loves you. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, we'll
talk to you later.
See you later. Atheist, bye. Alabama. There's more of them, I think, every single day. Somebody in the chat asked what my thoughts are on karma. I don't believe in karma as a spiritual force, like a spiritual equilibrium. I do hold to cause and effect, meaning that if you exhibit goodness in your own life, you are much more apt to receive goodness in return because of who you are, because those actions have repercussions. They will have echoes in your life. You can call that karma, but when I hear karma, I usually think of it in terms of this spiritual equilibrium. You know what? If you're a shitty human being, it's going to come back to you. And that's just complete bullshit. We've all known horrible people who have lived their lives and gotten away with it. They've used and abused. They're parasitic. They're abusive, and they've gotten away with it. Karma did not come knocking on their door. And we all know beautiful people, loving, kind, wonderful people who have been kicked in the teeth since day one. And their ship has not come in. So no, I don't believe in karma as a universal equilibrium or some sort of a spiritual balancing act. You know, the Tao but I'm not a Taoist. I don't believe in any of those things. But I do think that if you are shitty to people and you do shitty things, that many shitty things will probably happen in return. But that's a cause and effect conversation, not a karma conversation. Somebody brought up Buddhism. We've done a show, it's been several years, about Buddhism. There's a lot about Buddhism that I like. And I don't think you need Buddhism. But, there are some things that Buddhists do in regard to meditation and mindfulness and that kind of stuff that, there are non-theistic Buddhists, secular Buddhists, the people who remove the woo and have sort of cafeteria planned their Buddhism. And I can see some utility in that. I don't have a problem with that. But Buddhism, yes, at its core, is still a superstition, and it is still very woo-based. 920, you're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Hi, this is Vicky.
Hi, Vicky. What's going on with you? What's on your mind?
Well, first, I wanted to say it's a joy to talk to you. I've been a listener for a couple of years, and this is the first opportunity I've had to call in.
Thank you, Vicky. It's an honor to speak with you. What's up?
So, I have a very conservative dad, and recently me and my siblings have found out that he is a conspiracy theorist. And things like he believes that there is a colony on the moon, but the moon isn't real, and that there's the globalists that are going to take things over. He has invested money in like gold and silver because he thinks that eventually this almighty dollar is going to fall, and it's something that he's only talked to 2 of the 4 kids about. I haven't gotten into it with him, but I guess I was wondering if you had any idea where those thoughts might come from. Like, I don't think that I can get through to him in a breakthrough kind of way, but I want to understand how he got there.
Yeah. So you're not asking me how do we fix Dad. It's more like, how is he rational in many other parts of his life? He's an intelligent guy.
Yeah, it's he used to be in a medical profession and was for over 20 years, so very much science-based before.
Yeah. It's funny. I did a show a few years back with Dr. Michael Shermer, psychologist, founder of Skeptic Magazine. And, I agree, disagree with Shermer on some things, but he's also spot on others. And he has written a book called Why Smart People Believe Weird Things. And I was curious about the same thing because, I know a lot of really smart people who believe the Bible, or they believe the Quran, or they're conspiracy thinkers. They think 9/11 was an inside job, and they've, I've heard some really bizarre, conspiratorial language come out of them. And Shermer was talking about how that, it is often really intelligent people who are the best at outsmarting themselves, right? What happens is that it's almost like the apologists who are defending the Bible, which we know is a nonsensical, immoral, anti-scientific mess. But there are people who are so clever that they outsmart themselves. They're able to sort of bend everything into a way where they've created the patterns that didn't exist to begin with. They've connected the dots that didn't connect to begin with. They're not stupid people. They're not unintelligent people. But they're trying way too hard, and their brains, their processes for thinking are damaged. They are not connecting the dots correctly, or they're just filling in blanks that need to be stay blank, right? Now, I can't speak to your father, but it's not uncommon for people I call it the place in the brain where the weird shit lives, right? They're rational about this, and then over here, You will find someone that we're over in this little spot. They've got this bizarre belief, and you're like, how did you get there? What rationale do you have for this? What insanity is taking place? Just understand that it's common, that it happens a lot. I doubt you'll be able to talk him out of any of this stuff. But if you really want to take a deep dive, I would start with Shermer's book, Why Smart People Believe Weird Things. I believe that's the title of the book. It's cheap. You can pick it up on Amazon or whatever. And I would start there. And there may even be like a synopsis of it on the Skeptic website. I think there's an article about why smart people believe weird things. And maybe a psychologist or science-based researchers can fill in the blanks that I cannot there. Okay?
Okay.
And I understand your frustration. Like, I've got family members who believe that, like, they watch foreign policy, right? And it's not about whether or not the Jewish people have the right to have a state, the state of Israel, and call it their home. In their mind, it is the Jewish people have a sovereign state of Israel because it was prophesied that the Jews will have their own state, and this brings about the return of Jesus Christ, which starts in motion the tribulation, which is an end times prophecy, and then Jesus annihilates everything, and then we all go to heaven. And it's just like their reasoning, they have a place in the brain where the weird shit lives. So just know it happens. It's common. And there's some psychology on it. There's some research on it. I would start with Shermer's book and see where that takes you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I wish I had a better answer, but unfortunately that's a little out of my pay grade. All I know is I share your frustration. So you keep kicking. Okay.
I will. And just one thing quick. One of my brothers had a theory because of, my dad's age. He's a boomer. He said that there's a lot that's changing in the world that is perhaps too fast for what my dad grew up with. And so some of this may be an escape for dealing with things his way rather than facing the reality of how things are different now.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a coping thing. Maybe he's constructing a coping mechanism. But, it's maddening to try to bring the facts to the table and to debunk some of this stuff. There's a documentary on Netflix about the flat earthers, Vicky. If you have Netflix, it's worth watching. It's called, I think, Beyond the Curve. So they take these people who think that the earth is flat and they bring them in to an environment where they conduct these experiments to prove. They're supposed to prove that the earth is flat. And experiment after experiment fails. Experiment after experiment reveals that the earth is in fact curved. And the flat earthers do not have an epiphany moment and look up at the camera and say, I need to revise my position on this because the data is not there. Nobody does that. They decide they have to go back and change the test so that it fits the answer that they already came up with. So, you're not talking about a rationality. You're talking about something else. So, if you don't convince them, if you can't convince them, don't punish yourself over that. But maybe we can pursue maybe we should do another show on conspiracy theories and conspiracists in the new year. Maybe I'll write a note about that, Vicky. So thanks for that. Thanks for planting that seed here. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Seth.
All right. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See, I'm one of these weird guys who still uses pen and paper. Hang on. Conspiracy theories. All right. We may have to do that. Like, I grew up in a place where there was a ton of religious conspiracies. A lot of it was geared around the satanic panic, right? What were some of them? Russia, in the book of Revelation where the bear awakens? The bear wakes or awakens. Yeah. And so in my father's mind, he believed very much in the book of Revelation. So when Russia did anything, we saw Russia in the news. And again, much of his life was during the height of the Cold War. So when Russia did anything, it was the Bear Awakening, which was a sign of the end times and the return of God. Everything was part of this thing. It was this end of world mechanism set in motion, this Rube Goldberg mechanism that God had put into place. And so every headline, everything we saw it was a precursor to the rapture and the tribulation and the millennium, and we all go to heaven, and nobody's been right since. I wrote an entire chapter at the end of my book, Sacred Cows, about failed end of world prophecies. They've been doing this shit for thousands of years. The world's coming to an end. Here are the proofs. Here are the signs. Here are the markers. Nobody's been right. Nobody's been right. Who was that pastor? Harold Camping. He died a few years ago. He was the guy who said save the date because he was wrong 4 times. He was wrong 4 different times on the end of the world prophecy. I mean, it's bad enough to screw it up once. He just kept moving the bar further down. Here's another date. 806. Hi. Thanks for waiting. You're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Oh, it's Shy. Sorry. I had my phone on speaker because I'm working on a thing.
Is it Shy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we've spoken before, right?
Yes, I'm the one with the...
Hello.
I forgot. Sorry.
Hello.
I was going to reference to a different one, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all right. As long as I got you, Shy. What is on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
Well, you had reminded me of 3 different things. I'll make all of them insanely quick.
Okay.
The movie thing, when Venom came out, my husband and I made the worst mistake, and we went and watched it on a weekend night.
And?
I wasted a thing of popcorn because a bunch of teens were in the front 2 rows in front of us, would not shut up, and kept taking selfies with the flash on and yelling during the movie. So I threw a almost $5 thing of popcorn at them.
Like they desecrated the temple, right? That's your temple.
I was just trying to enjoy a movie. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to watch... I just wanted to watch Venom.
You wanted to go to the movie, and they broke the social contract that is made when you buy a movie ticket. By the way, was Venom any good? Because I missed it. I just didn't feel the need to go. And I like Tom Hardy. Any good?
Yes, watching Tom Hardy wander around half crazy for a couple hours is amazing.
Because, I loved him in Mad Max, Fury Road, and Inception. I mean, he's amazing, but I don't follow a lot of graphic novel films, and the reviews weren't great, and so I was always on the fence. But do you think, go for it?
Yeah, it would have been better if it was rated R.
All right. They needed to be grittier.
Yeah, it should have been way grittier.
Okay, all right. So the movie thing I got.
Venom, that's his whole thing.
What else is on your mind? You said you had 2 other things.
About your parents, yes, it is a power move.
Okay.
This was funny. Neither one of my husband and I, neither one of us are believers. And my family assumed he was Catholic, and his family assumed I was Baptist. And it became more obvious to one family or the other that we aren't believers. Neither one of us are fully out. We just don't care. But his, one of his extended relatives was like, oh, you should get your husband to go to church with you. And I was like, I don't go to church.
Thud. Like it drops like a brick in the room. Just bam. Yeah. Just like a.
And then.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. My family, my extended family that I don't really care about or talk to, they, at the last time we all met for something, they completely ignored me, went up to him and said, you take care of her, all right? And this was after my grandfather had passed and we buried him. And I was just so mad at them because I'm right here. I can handle myself.
Yeah.
He's not my keeper.
They saw him as like head of your home thing, like a biblical thing, or what?
Yeah, they were treating him like he's the head of the house now. And it's like, no, the woman who owns the house is the head of the house, which isn't me either.
Don't mess with Shy. She'll mess you up, you know. Yeah. Don't desecrate her temple. Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with them. Don't be rude in the movie theater.
Yeah.
But my ear is kind of
yeah. And the third thing?
I mean, within the first,
or was that
it's about the new year. Within the first, yeah, that's the third thing. Within the new year, the paddlefish went extinct, and it probably went extinct almost 10 years ago, which is super depressing.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna continue to look for the shining light at the end of the dark cloud. You know, we're only 14 days in, so hopefully things will improve. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working for most of the new year. I worked Christmas. I worked New Year's Eve. I don't know if I'm working any other holidays yet. I think I'm working Martin Luther King Day, but I don't really. Yeah. That's not a big deal to me. Not the end of the world.
Shai, you have a wonderful rest of January. Thanks for calling the show, and hang in there, okay?
Okay, have a good one.
See you later. Stand by, my friends. It's more from our listeners as we go back to the switchboard after this short break. Hang on. Thanks for supporting me on Patreon. It really does make a difference. When you are a patron, you get the show early and you get your own RSS feed so that you can download or stream a totally commercial-free version of the show. That's special just to you. It's my way of saying thank you. You can become a patron at patreon.com/Seth Andrews. This show is just kind of a whatever kitchen sink kind of show. Right now, we're talking to our listeners as we go back to the switchboard. Area code 206. Hi, thanks for waiting. You're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Hi, this is James from Austin.
James, talk to me. What's on your mind today?
Oh, wow. I'm actually in the middle of an MMO, and I've been rehearsing my speech like you do before you read the book passage in class there.
Yeah?
Wow. So I just kind of wanted to share an experience I had. I never grew up religious or anything like that, but eventually some Mormons came knocking on my door, and I actually joined the Mormon church for a couple of years there and got baptized in it.
That's crazy. I'm doing a show in a few weeks with a couple of guys who have helped to expose some of the behind the scenes stuff in the Mormon church. They had founded originally an organization called Mormon Leaks, which has evolved into the Truth and Transparency Foundation. And so that I think that might be a show that interests you if you have a history in the Mormon church. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was in it. I probably joined when I was like 16, 17, where I'm starting to like get that understanding of the world, but I still have that naivete of never really being experienced with anything religious. Both my parents were not religious. They said they were Christian, but we never did church or anything like that. So when these people kind of came around and said, hey, they're all happy, we're bubbly, come join us. And I ended up getting involved with it and everything like that. But one of the weirder things was that push to become a missionary and join that kind of group to go somewhere for 2 years or whatever it was. I had already set my heart on joining the military, which I did. And the thing that kind of kicked me out of that Mormonistic viewpoint was when I went to the Mormon faith while I was enlisted in the military, and it was in basic training, and they said, oh, hey, did you do your mission or anything? And I was like, no, I want to serve my country and join the military. And they said, oh, well, you did the second best thing you could have done with your life.
Oh, what? The military, what, the Mormon church being the first?
Yes, the Mormon church going on that mission trip for 2 years or whatever was the first, but me joining the military and serving my country out of patriotism and love was the second best.
I must be getting Mormons confused with the Jehovah's. I think it's the Jehovah's Witnesses that forbid service in the military. Yeah, it must be the Jehovah's Witnesses. Sorry about that.
The Mormons absolutely love their military. They're very behind it. But it was that while I was in that initial basic training area where they go, oh, okay, you did the second best thing you possibly could have done with your life.
Yeah.
When I had come from a family of, my mom was in the military, my dad, my stepdad, my grandpa, back generations, and they're like, oh, you made the second best choice.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, go figure. Leave it to the church to elevate themselves to the highest priority on the list. So, what else on your mind, my friend?
I was very. Well, after that, I kind of had to think about things and be like, am I really actually religious or anything like that, or am I just that breakaway of separating? But I wanted to say the people that kind of broke me out of it, funnily enough, were the guys Hugo and Jake.
The Bible Reloaded guys. That's awesome.
The Bible Reloaded. Watching their chick tracks and hearing the just absolute insanity that some of that believes kind of started to shake me out of that religious mindset.
For those who don't know Hugo and Jake, just go to YouTube. The Bible Reloaded pops right up. Their page does. They've done a lot of great stuff. They just they skewer.
Although they are now Heather and Jake.
They are. Have I missed that? What happened?
Hugo has come out as he's out officially as transgender. He's transitioning to a woman named Heather.
I did not know this. Heather and Jake.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a very recent, probably about a month old at most.
Oh, wow. All right. Heather and Jake. Well, it may come up on YouTube under Hugo and Jake or just the Bible Reloaded. But, congratulations out to Heather. I think that's amazing. Their stuff is awesome. They're hysterical. They're fun. They're funny. And they just dissect, they skewer, they roast these chick tracks, the Bible stories themselves, and
their atheist reviews, their atheist watch series, God's Not Dead, God's Not Dead 2, all of that stuff is absolutely amazing, and it really helped.
Books, they'll go into apologetics books and just do a dissection of the books. It's awesome. So,
and it really helped kick me out of that, and I really wanted to just kind of share that helpfulness that they had and that perspective that it gave to me personally.
Okay. So, I just looked it up because I saw it in the, it's not Heather, it's Hannah and Jake. Hannah.
I'm sorry.
No worries, my friend. No. It's an honest mistake and anybody could have made it. But if you're looking, it does pop up immediately under Hannah, Hannah, Hannah and Jake. So that's good info. It's a great channel. Subscribe to it. Follow the stuff. And that's fantastic. Well, thanks for telling us. I'm glad you escaped, my friend. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
All right. Thank you, Seth, for taking my call.
You betcha. Be good. We'll see you later. They've got an analysis of Jesus Camp, the documentary. They've got God's Not Dead, the movie Expelled, which is a quote-unquote documentary that features Ben Stein. I used to love Ben Stein before he lost his mind. Ben Stein. Ben Stein is one of those examples of a really smart dude. Ben Stein is smart. He used to host a game show called, was it Beat Ben Stein? Or Are You Smarter Than Ben Stein? And people would come and try to outsmart him in a general knowledge contest. And it was hard because Ben Stein knew a lot of stuff. But Ben Stein is, as I understand it, and he's not just an intelligent design guy and a pro-God, a superstitious guy, but he may also be a climate change denialist and some other stuff, right? He has a place in the brain where the weird shit lives. Anyway, they do Expelled. They talk about it on the show. It's Hannah and Jake. 317, hi, you're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Who's this?
Hey, this is Kirby in Indianapolis.
What's going on? Tell me your name again. I'm sorry. Is it what?
Kirby, just like the vacuum. Kirby.
Kirby.
Just like the vacuum.
Oh, Kirby. I'm sorry.
Yeah, or the damn cartoon.
I got you. What's on your mind, Kirby?
I'm a non-religionist. I do believe in a God, but I don't believe in anybody's holy books because they're full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a Christian. I've been a Muslim, and I found out one thing about the Abrahamic religions is that they're all racist. They all believe in slavery, and they're just narrow-minded, bigoted. They are the original fascists.
Amen, brother. Yeah, I mean, these are books that are exclusionary. They are divisive. They are, you see, I know in the Bible, in the Old Testament, how many times by God's command were whole races and cultures just wiped out because they were not chosen, because they occupied the wrong land. Yeah, you are speaking the truth.
Ain't got nothing on Yahweh.
Yeah. Yeah. But you believe in God in what, a more general sense, like you're not religious, but you are spiritual thing? I
believe that God created this and gave us some certain rules that we all know. Treat people like you want to be treated. Don't walk around raping, robbing, and murdering. Other than that, live your life. That's it.
Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, I don't want to make this necessarily a challenge in that way. Like, I'm not coming after you, but how do you know that those came from God? Like, how did you get there?
And you know what? I don't know for certain, which is why I can listen to you and not be upset by it. I actually found you listening to Dark Matter 2525.
Really? I'm a fan of Dark Matter.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and I see where he's coming from. There's no way you can tell me that a God that is about love on one hand is going to tell you on the other hand to go to the next village, kill every man and child you see, and the old women, but keep the young pretty ones for yourself. That just does not make common sense.
Well, that's honestly refreshing to hear. It's, someone who's analyzed the specific religious claims of specific religions and said, bunch of crap. And as long as your journey belongs to you, I wish you the best in yours, and continue to ask those questions about where do these things come from. I would also encourage you to do a little digging when it comes to evolved ethical traits, evolved moral systems. There's a lot of great information out there about why moral and ethical behavior actually helped us to create communities, to survive, to thrive, and how even in an evolutionary way, it makes more sense to be moral and ethical. And so we can actually look back and see those tendencies evolving throughout the human condition. There's a lot of great research which points not to a God, but to evolution, for the reason that we are able to decide, to do right instead of deciding to do wrong. Okay.
Yeah. I was in church in my 30s, and I didn't start going to church till I was in my 30s. And I had a question from my pastor one day, and it was a simple question, which was, if Jesus is God, who was he praying to? Himself?
Yeah. What's that meme?
There's that meme. I got was,
oh, I'm sorry. You weren't finished with the story. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, the answer I got was, brother, we don't ask questions like that. And I was out of church that day. I couldn't.
There's a meme of Jesus in the garden, and Jesus is looking up. This is Jesus praying in the garden before he's crucified, and he says, "Hello, God, it's you, it's me, you," which is essentially what you're saying. Like, who's he praying to? If Jesus if I and the Father are one, it makes no sense. So, I like the way you think. Yeah. I like the way you think.
Yeah, that's kind of schizophrenic.
Well, you just keep on being skeptical, keep asking questions, you keep kicking the tires. And as long as your journey belongs to you, I think that's amazing, and all my best on it, okay?
Yes, sir. All
right, take care of yourself. Oh, did I lose you? Sorry about that. There's a little bit of delay on that call. I wasn't trying to walk over him. Sometimes I'll hear what I think is a natural beat in the conversation, and then I'll begin talking, and it doesn't. No, we did a show. We've done shows on morality. I just did a broadcast with Phil Zuckerman about why, gods aren't needed for ethical behavior. There are other better explanations for why we know right from wrong, why we know it's wrong to rape and kill and steal and do those types of things. We've had a lot of those conversations, and that's a path worth going down. Honestly, if someone comes to a point where they believe in a sort of a deistic type of prime mover out there who set the rules, those aren't the people that I have a beef with at this time in my life, right? They're not the theocrats who are they're not the governor of Alabama. They're not the people who are occupying the White House who are trying to legislate or mandate a specific religion. In a specific holy book, praying to a specific God who has specific requirements, who receives a specific tithe, 10% of your income, right? The people who are more like, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. Those people are not my priority at this moment. Those people are not the ones. Their ambivalence can be a problem. The apatheists, the people who check out or enable bad behavior by turning the other way and saying, well, just let everybody believe what they want to believe. I get that there's a problem with that. There are problems, plural, with that. But on a one-on-one basis, it's not the deists that keep me up at night. It's the maneuverings of the theists, the theocrats. Those are the people who make me crazy. Let's do one more, 925. Hi, you're on the Thinking Atheist podcast. Thanks for waiting. Who's this? 925. Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Lindsay Finn.
Lindsay. Did I get it? Did I get that name right?
Yes. Yes.
Talk to me, Lindsay. What's on your mind today?
Sorry, my connection's really bad because I can't even get TV where I live, so I'm kind of surprised I've stayed connected this long. But
are you doing hard time or something?
Podcast.
I mean, where do you live?
I live in remote Nevada.
Okay, all right. Well, I buy that. Look, if we get cut off, I'll look for your area code and we'll pick up where we got disconnected. What's on your mind? What are you thinking?
I wanted to say I found your podcast. I was brought up homeschooled with now I'm kind of understanding a cult-like religion since kindergarten. And so as all my brothers, I'm the eldest. And I just wanted to say your YouTube podcasts and stuff like that have really made an impact in my life, and finding someone who's kind of, understands what I've gone through and, just going through life and not understanding that I was being indoctrined and didn't, brainwashed and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was really, I'm super excited to have found your podcast, and I listen to it all the time.
Your parents must hate me, or do they know about me? Like, do they know that you've sort of left the fold, or that you had questions?
So I'm still very close to my family, which I'm lucky. But I think they all kind of are secretly hoping that I'll come back to the way, that I'll find the Christian life again. And yeah.
I make this promise to the believers in my life. If God shows up tomorrow, I really do want to know that. I'm not guaranteeing that God will be worth my worship. That's a whole other conversation. But if God is real, whoever she is, I would want to know that. And I try to make that guarantee. I really do want to know what is true. Whatever's true, let's go figure that out. And hopefully your parents will see you on a journey that, you're pursuing the truth kind of on your terms. But you're so sweet. Thanks for the kind words. I get it. You go and you look back at some of the stuff you used to believe and some of the stuff they pounded into your skull when you were an impressionable child, and you look around and go, hey, wait, I got some catching up to do, and what have I missed, and what does this mean? And so, I mean, I know it hasn't been an easy journey for you. It sounds like you're doing okay. You sound relatively happy. Are you doing all right here in 2020?
Yeah, I am. I'm actually currently in college for paleontology, which
oh yeah, this conversation's getting better and better.
My family.
This conversation is only improving. That's awesome.
But I mean, like my personal journey, like you actually, I kind of found you at the right time and kind of got me thinking. Before I found your channel, I already knew, what I eventually believed, that, I'm not religious anymore and blah, blah, blah. But I decided, you know what? I just want to go discover and kind of figure out what I missed, and I'm loving it. It's great. I love it. I love your podcasts. I watch your channel. It's great. I'm happy to be where I am.
You are not alone. Okay, I want you to take that with you. You're not alone, and your life belongs to you, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to sort of take that journey on your own terms, and it's not always going to be easy, but I got your back. And there's a ton of people I'm looking at in the chat. They got you. Everybody say something real fast and just let her know you got her back. And we make that guarantee to any believer watching or listening that if a God shows up, if there is a good reason to believe it, we genuinely would want to know that. And then after that, we would pursue the question of whether or not said God was worth worshiping. But we just want to try to live an honest life, whatever that means. And so that's amazing. That's a good way to kick off 2020. On your own terms, studying the sciences, going to go out and make a real difference in that field. That's fantastic. You encourage me. Thanks for calling the show today. It means a lot.
Thanks.
All right. You have a happy 2020, okay?
Yeah, you too.
All right,
I'll keep listening.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. And there goes the
Bye-bye.
chat. Everybody in the chat room is like, we got your back. We got your, you know why? Because we got your back. Because we're all in this together. And we know that, sometimes it's not easy. And sometimes when you rattle the cage, when you shake things up, when you carve a path of your own, when you don't follow in lockstep with everybody else, sometimes some people get genuinely irritated and uncomfortable, and it can make for some very uncomfortable times. But life's too short to be somebody else's echo. Life's too short to be doing what somebody else has already done, to be them. You are unique. You have a unique footprint on this earth. You have a short window of time in which to live. And I think it's a tragedy to waste it trying to keep other people happy. Go out and pursue the truth and pursue happiness on your own terms. I think that's a meritorious way to live. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for all the encouragement you bring to my life. I will see you, hopefully not with a cell phone in the movie theater, but I hopefully will see you very, very soon. Take care.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter for a complete archive of podcasts and videos, products like mugs and t-shirts featuring the Thinking Atheist logo, links to atheist pages and resources, and details on upcoming Free Thought events and conventions. Log on to our website, thethinkingatheist.com.